Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about different property types and how they affect your ability to purchase. Well, stay tuned. Alright, three different major property types that you run into when you're looking to purchase a home. You have your standard stick-built home that's normal construction. We call it like a single-family residence. That's kind of the standard that you see out there that most people look for when looking to buy a home. Now you also have condos, where you're buying a unit that's usually attached to other units, and there's usually an HOA involved, and then you have something like a modular home or a manufactured home. So something that was created somewhere else, taken to a place where it was put on a foundation, or depending on what type of land it's on, it might not be a permanent foundation. It might just be a spot. Okay. Now the reason why I'm talking about this today is because there seems to be this kind of train of logic that I've seen a lot of borrowers go down, and it can be very disappointing. And that train is they look for a stick-built home, a regular construction home. They go looking for it and they go, man, a lot of the houses in this area are expensive. They're more expensive than what I want to purchase. Maybe I can do better with a condo. Condos usually don't cost as much, so I'm going to go look at condos. And they find condos and they don't cost as much. Typically, their purchase prices are going to be lower. They think, all right, I'm going to go for a condo. I can spend less. But what they don't know, and what most people don't know unless they've owned or already lived in a condo, is that they have pretty high HOA fees. Now, those HOA fees can make the difference in payment to where it's as if you're buying that more expensive single-family home. And it can be very disappointing because you're like, dang, I found something that doesn't cost as much and I'm going to spend just as much every month on this thing. Another hidden thing with condos is the vast majority of them only will take conventional financing. And that's a whole ball of wax in and of itself as to why that is. And we can get into that into another video. But for the purposes of this video, to keep things short and sweet, that's about what you're going to deal with a condo. Yeah, they usually cost less, but there's an HOA fee that's going to really crank up your monthly outgo, and it kind of deflates you a little bit. The third thing that people will generally do at that point is they'll look for a manufactured home. Now, there's two major types that you'll run into. You'll run into manufactured homes that are in a park, so a mobile home park, and those look very appealing because you'll say, oh my gosh, these things are $40,000 or $100,000. You're like, it's so inexpensive. Maybe I'll just buy that. What you don't know is that the land they're on is leased land, which means you have to rent that spot that the home is parked on. And depending on where the park is, that spot can also be hundreds of dollars, sometimes over $1,000. So then you're kind of right back where you were. You're like, man, I'm paying almost the same as I would if I bought a regular stick-built home. And I don't want to do that. The other type of manufactured house that you run into a lot is it'll actually be a manufactured home that was put on a permanent foundation and it's on its own land. Okay? That's actually a pretty good scenario depending on how old it is, because if it's on its own land, you can typically use an FHA loan to buy it. As long as it's not older than, I think it's June 10th, 1976 or something like that. I'm pretty sure, I know it's 1976, and I believe it's June 10th, as long as it's not older than that. Because manufactured homes are similar to cars in the effect that they lose value the older they get. You can always do lots of things to a manufactured home. You can update them, you can upgrade them. There's a lot of stuff you can do to them to help increase their value. But over time, as they get older, they seem to lose value. They depreciate. Unlike a stick-built home or a condo that typically appreciates. It actually becomes more valuable over time, usually and in most market conditions, unless it's a really weird time like right after the bubble popped. The mortgage meltdown, if you're not familiar with that term. So those are three different major property types that most people look for when they're going to buy a home. And that's a pitfall I see people fall into, is they look for that house, it's too expensive, so they look for the condo, then they find out they can't afford it or they want to spend so much on it. And they look for the manufactured home, and then they're very discouraged when they find out that the space rent is $1,000 a month or something like that. Which sometimes it is, and sometimes even more, depending on where it is. So don't get caught in that trap. Be aware when you're looking for those type of properties. A manufactured home in a park is a different kind of lending than what your average lender does. So if you are looking for that type of property, contact the property management, the company there that takes care of it, and say, okay, who is your lender? Who do you refer to? And they'll usually have someone that takes care of the lending for that that spot, or at least someone they can refer you to do that very specific type of lending, because most lenders won't be able to do it. If it's on its own land and it's been on a permanent foundation a year and longer, it needs to be at least be a year, then your typical lender can do it. Your bank could probably do it, a direct lender. Most of them are going to be able to do that type of deal. With condominiums, most people can do those too. Sometimes the condominium itself and its homeowners association is what can kill a deal. And unfortunately, there's no real way of knowing that unless your agent is really savvy. And by that I mean they do some research ahead of time. So if you have a condo complex that has 100 units in it, and 60 of those units are owned by investors, meaning they don't live in the units and they rent them out, most of the time you're not going to be able to get financing on that unit. It's a weird quirk of instability to have most of them owned by an investor. Or if one investor owns, I think, more than 10% of the units available, that can be a deal killer too. And unfortunately, those are things you don't normally know until you're already in contract to buy the place. So some other things to kind of tuck under your hat if you do want to buy a condo. They definitely have their benefits. All the properties really have their pluses and minuses. You know, it really just depends on what you're looking for. Are you trying to buy something long term? Are you thinking of it as an investment? Things of that nature. So I wanted to keep today's video short and sweet. If you found any value in it, please like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions about these type of things. I'll talk about it in future videos when you're looking to buy multi-units, you know, 1 to 4 units, a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex. What kind of lending, what does that do for all the different variables when you're buying a place, if you want to get into investing. Pretty cool vehicles to kind of get that part started too, and I could talk about that in a future video. But leave a comment below, let me know what you think. And thank you guys, and we'll catch you next time.